Here it is. Alright. Ooh, Zarya. Right. You said that. Whoops. Alright. So what are things you feel like you need to work on, Zarya? And then we'll take a look at it and see like if your assessment is like accurate or like what are some things that you didn't notice or things like that. That's my Discord, sorry. Are you here? Rip. Uh, I'll just keep going and then I'll send you. You can look at the mod later. All right. So generally speaking, issues with Zarya are mostly related to positioning and bubble timing. So you generally want to with Ryan comps play mostly with your Ryan, and then like as your Ryan does something, you start splitting it off angling to take pressure off of him and also do maximum damage. So you generally want to time what you're doing with aggro, with your Ryan's aggro, and then occasionally sometimes you'll just split really hard because the map favors it. Or if like uh I suck at Zarya, feels bad. I mean like what do you like want to work on Zarya? What do you feel like you need to work on? But yeah, so with the off angling, you off angle when your Ryan goes in, or you back up in an off angle sometimes if your team is holding very defensive space. And that way like your team becomes very hard to push. I don't enough damage, or I don't do enough damage. I mean, sure. Okay. We'll see if that's a result of like mechanics, like if whether or not like you're missing out on a lot of opportunities for like right click damage or you're not spamming enough or things like that, or the result of positioning. Generally speaking, if you feel like you're not doing enough damage on Zarya, it's actually more of a positioning problem, than it is like other things, unless like you just really have an issue staying active. But since you're like a Masters Ryan, I'm assuming you're gonna be pretty active still in Zarya. Um, a lot of Plat Zaryas just like turn their brain off, but you typing 10 of 10, yeah, or my typing 10 of 10, yeah. Same. That's why I'm called Typo. I'm really good at it. With that one easy trick. Huge. That's good. So, this is really minor. Um, so first of all, you probably should have personal bubble even when you took the fire strike. Just to get your quick charge online. It's good that you didn't bubble your run though. And then also it's really good that when you walked through the choke, you saw the tracer to the left and you shot the tracer, and now she's over here, right? This is winning off angles for your team, right? It's like now you're instead of like this tracer went too early, right? Which let her get poked out, right? But now you're in a situation where you have control of like more of the map, right? That's really good. All right, who's DMing me? Okay. Um, that's not you. Whoops. That's you. Okay, so that's a good bubble. This is good. You're splitting as well. Would you use your own bubble in there? Okay. Oh, okay. No, this is not the best bubble. Um, especially when it's your personal bubble, you kind of want to wait until like you're actively taking focus, um, or when you have reliable spam going your way, right? So if you're walking through a choke or something and you're like, oh no, projectile spam, and then you just press shift and now you have energy, right? But if you just like do it because you expect to take some kind of damage and there's nothing on your screen, right? That's you're getting too antsy with your bubbles, and you just gotta wait for the actual information to present itself, right? The only exception is if like they have like really weird burst damage, like there's like a widow or something, and you're not sure if she's actually looking at you or not. Then sometimes you have to bubble. Quality bubbles. Yeah, it's like it's really just gotta be like you gotta wait for information, right? You gotta wait for like things to be looking at you, and you to be looking at them, right? Or for like you to be eating damage while you're looking at something else, right? Um, like bubbles what you lets you get aggressive. And I know like early on you're really desperate for charge, but like that's when you need to be even more considerate with your bubbles because if you miss a bubble, you're really sad. But yeah, so this self bubble is really bad. The projected though is really good. Like this is really good timing. Like you wait till your Ryan's in contact, right, and then you follow up on this. There's an argument for splitting this way, but this is also really good because like it lets you like go this way. If you had your personal bubble at this point, this would be amazing, right? You could just stand here all day and shoot this Ryan in the back while your Ryan's hammering from the front, right? Because like, I mean, what's the other Ryan gonna do about it if like you're just standing here with a bubble, right? Like if you had a bubble here, this Ana dies, right? And that's why that self bubble was so bad, right? It's like yes, you were looking for charge, but you didn't get any charge off of it, right? Because like there was no information, and then your Ryan pushed and you didn't have your bubble, right? So timing wise, you didn't sync your bubbles with the Ryan's pressure, and you also didn't get energy off it, which is like a double whammy, right? Yeah, but that projected bubble was very good. And then you like did a natural split away from your Ryan, so that was also very good. So positioning wise, you're actually doing fine. Um, there are like small optimizations you can do and whatnot, but like your positioning so far has not been the problem. And your bubble timing on your Ryan has been very good. The bubble's fine. You're just waiting for his fire strike, really? Yeah, there you go. Oh, he he outbrained you. Alright, this is where you need to be considered with what your Ryan's doing, right? So your Ryan's sitting here, and he looks like he wants to fight here. So a really good spot to be is like up here, or over here, right? Or just behind here. This is probably this is the most sensible spot to be generally, because if you're here and your Ryan rotates that way suddenly, you're not like in Africa, because like you can pretty easily cross over here with your own bubble, and then be very safe and very safely like walk back to point if you need to, right? And then like whatever happens, like if the enemy team starts pushing like aggressive on the left side, you can like rotate to match them, right? It's just and you basically you're playing an off angle from your Ryan, but you're also playing cover, and then you're the option, and you're not so far off angled, like you're not like out here, so that if your Ryan does something, you can't respond to it, right? So this is probably your ideal spot. This is also okay, but like you're very reliant on your Ryan to make good decisions here. And if they also have ults, you're in trouble, which they don't, but that's a good bubble. That bubble's okay. Good pressure on the Widow, right? Yeah, this is the issue. It's like you're so close to your Ryan that when things go wrong, right? You're kind of just dead. There's no way for you to turn the fight because you're not in a position to be able to do that, right? But overall, like your bubbles have been okay. Ooh. Oh. Later. What the? Yeah, in situations like that, there's a couple decisions you have to make. As soon as you see him, right, you kind of want to back away from him because if you group up with your team, that's kind of what Ryan wants. Even if like, I think I could carry this match. Maybe. What SR is this? Like Masters? Um, but let's see. When you see the Ryan, yeah, this guy's an animal. But when he goes into your backline like this, yeah, you kind of just need to chill and create distance, and so that way he's a harder time walking in, right? Because if a Ryan sees 6 people lined up, that's a much better charge than if there's like 4 people. If like there's just like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Like if there's like 5 people in like in a big arc, it's very hard for him to pin that, right? Whereas like if you try to line up with your team, like I know you're trying to eat the pin for your team with the bubble, right? But it's a lot more sensible just to like look at who he pins, then bubble them instead, right? In the meantime, you can shoot him from the side, and he goes for you, right? Then you can bubble and stuff like that. And if he shatters, like you can save somebody, right? But if you line up with them, you're sort of at like you're sort of like putting all your eggs in and being able to block whatever he's doing with your bubble, right? And if you miss, your team's dead. Because it's so much harder to block a bubble when you or block a pin with bubble if you're getting thrown all over the place by his pin as well, right? Like that was good intentions, right? But now like it's just so hard to actually actively respond appropriately because your camera is in the wrong spot, right? Because your camera is literally like in the middle of everything he's doing. So it forces your projected bubble. You didn't block the pin, then you get shattered because you don't have personal, right? It's very sad.
This fight is not over.
Step rider.
Get in there.
Hey, the big sleep block. Yeah, good off angling. Try and get some charge here. That's good. Bubble somebody. Yeah. Like when they're not aggressive, when they stop here and stop trying to go in, like just bubble somebody for energy, or you might get something. That's not you. But building energy is so important that whenever you get a free bubble, you always take it. Unless you know like they're waiting for a Sombra to gauge or something. Okay, this bubble, I know you're desperate for energy, right? And you do get 40 energy, right? But you know when you're about to engage because you're about to grab. So just wait 2 seconds. Wait 2 seconds for your Ryan to walk forward on your grab and then bubble him, right? And immediately that bubble is so much better, right? Because watch how much damage this Ryan's going to take walking in, right? Just watch it. He died! It's perfect. I love when they prove me right. Like, he... So about how much damage he took all of it. And you really just need to save bubble for that grab, right? Because you know when you're like, sometimes like there's a communication problem, right? Where you don't know when your Ryan's about to go in, so you're not really showing to bubble him, so you bubble when he's backing up, right? But in this case, you know you're about to grab, right? So if you know you're about to grab, you need to save bubble for your own grab. Yeah. Poor guy. Look at him. Like, I know he's on fire and all that, but like, there's your grab, there's your bubble. He didn't make it to the grab. Feels bad. Alright, you see my point though? Yes, no, maybe so. Alright, I assume you get it. Goodbye, world. Yeah, if you have like, you can read voice because like you're in the middle of something, and like that's why I keep missing stuff. Like again, the bot will be here, so don't worry about it. But good block, good off angle, right? When you get out of the choke, you split off in the left, and that way you create room for your Ryan, and this Ryan has to make a decision what to do. He starts backing up, right? This is a really good off angle, off angling. And like, if anything, you're a little too close. You don't want to be this close to the Ryan. I know they just use Shatter and they use Grab, so you're not super scared. But you don't want to get antied along with the rest of them, and you can generally just do your job right from here, right? So you can like play much closer to the cover, and just like take a much wider angle because like I mean, look at this is your beam range, right? This is as close as you need to be, right? From here to here, right? So if you just want to shoot this guy, right, you can easily be here, right? If you want to shoot this guy, you can do it from here, right? So you just want to play your max beam range. Unless like you're chasing someone to prevent them from getting away. But this is scary, right? You're not really chasing this nano right? So you just chill in here and you shoot them from the side, right? You don't want to be like your Brig, and you don't want to be in the middle of it. Like you're forcing bubble value. In reality, the bubble is to help you hold the angle longer, right? That's like if you have bubble and you're sitting here, that's when you start walking over here, right? And like really pushing the Ana, forcing her to drop, right? Using your bubble, right? and then maybe throw a right click at the Widow, and then get back to cover with it, right? And that's what applies pressure, right? You make the Ana drop, and then your Ryan will survive, and this Ryan will be under more and more pressure, and he might think he's like still strong because he's got the nano nade Ana nade buff and nano, and then they both expire, and the Ana's not healing, he suddenly just dies, right? That's how you apply real pressure, right? But you don't try to relieve pressure from your team by just like Zarya stacking with bubbles. You do that when you don't have a choice, right? But you're in a really strong off angle, so just abuse it. Good patience in the bubble. Why couldn't you do this with your grab? You heard the Ryan charge and you just bubbled. That was really good. Alright, this is good off angling as well. You want to split in this way, and then you want to shoot the Zarya to force her out. Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, overall, you played definitely fine. Minor issues with off angling cover, but like in terms of like the actual majority of the fight, it was like conceptually it was fine. But again, you have the same problem. You're playing with the Ryan now, so you're the mercy of your Ryan to make decent plays. You'd also probably want to say bubble here. You're already at like 80 charge in that fight. And one bubble just pushes you to 100, so it's like one bubble for 20 energy instead of one bubble for 40 energy, and the fight's literally about to start, right? And you need that bubble to hold space, right? Again, we talked about how like if you have a personal bubble, you can just like walk over here, kick the Yana out, and no one can really do anything about it, right? Especially if they're not looking at you. And especially a lot of times people just stare down at Ryan's because they just turn their brains off. So if you just like split an angle and shoot their backline, they actually don't know what to do if you have personal bubble, like and high energy. So again, like if you have charge, right, then suddenly you don't need to do this at all, right? You can just hold on to it, right, and then split from your team and just like off angle and kill people. And it's really strong. That bubble's okay, a little bit early, but that bubble's fine, right? It's the sustained pressure. You would expect to take a turn at some point, right, and then you back up when your bubbles. You should back up when your bubble's gone. If you pop it that early, anyways. Yeah. Yeah, this is the problem, right? Like you're in the middle of everything because you're always stacking with your Ryan, right? Okay. Why does it keep DMing me? Okay. Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. So because you're always stacked with your team, you're eating all these AoE abilities. Like you've been in every grab, you've been in every shatter, right? Except for the one you blocked. But you were in line. You were in line with it, right? You just don't want to be part of this stuff, right? You want to be slightly off to the side and like behind, right? And that makes it so that when they dump stuff on your Ryan, like they're just dumping it only on your Ryan, right? And you apply a lot of pressure from the side, right? Imagine this Ryan, like try to walk in the grab, and there's just a Zarya sitting here beaming him in the back, right? And then like people try to like oh, there she is. And then people try to like follow in, like try to off angle normally, right? So like the Ryan goes in, and then Zarya goes this way, and she's low charge, and you're right here with the high charge and a bubble, right? This Zarya is so sad. You just kill her if she doesn't get help, right? And you can do a lot of stuff like this if you just don't stack with your Ryan too much.
This fight is not over.
That's fine, I guess. Last fight. All right.
The best mistake.
Oh, Sigma. Alright, so again, Sigma is even more about off angling. You're way more self-sufficient as a character as Zarya, and you also give a little bit less to the team in terms of like raw like cooldown usage as Zarya, right? So if Zarya maybe like wants to play his position more, right? This is Sigma's spot, right? You just sit here, you put up a shield, and you shoot them until they die, right? And you have a Mega behind you. If you get pushed, you have a Rock and you have Shift, and you have a constantly like updating shield, right? And then like you just back up, drop, come back here. Your team will do stuff in the meantime, right? And then you come right back here and do it again, right? Alternatively, you can actually play out here, right, and shoot them in the back. This one's a bit more extreme. Or like you can just like walk out into the map and go find the Widow and kick her out, right? But like this is something Sigma's really good at, and like you have to off angle if you're playing Sigma. You can't even if you're playing rush comp, even if you want to play with your Ryan, you off angle next to your Ryan, right? You cannot forget to off angle on Sigma. Right, do you see how like little like okay, so this is good because your Ryan split in this direction, right? So he went forward, right? He got the early map control, and then he split in this direction, right? And so the Ryan is thinking about off angles, which gives you the off angle now without having to do anything, right? But in an ideal world, you would be right here to begin with, right? And that way you would have cover, you would have range, and you'd be like spamming them really hard, and then you could drift in this direction depending on what's going on, and your Ryan wouldn't feel as pressured to go over here, right? Because this is kind of awkward for your team, right? And like you're more exposed to the Widow this way, right? As whereas if the Ryan was here, right, your team was like just chilling over here, right? You're much less exposed to the Widow, and then you're sitting in this spot just really hammering them. So if someone dies to the Widow here, it's not really your fault, but like the way your tanks have set up makes it easier for this to happen. Right now this is good. Now this is good, except your Ryan is dying and about to die to Widow, right? And your McCree is also like in a really rough spot. But this is good. This is really good. I want you to stay here though. Oh my god, look at the damage. Are you getting pushed? You start backing? Nice. McCree has no sense of fear. Alright. Oh. Bye, world. Yeah. If you're gonna play Sig Ryan instead of Zarya Sig, you gotta. Uh-oh. Oh boy. You've got to unstack with your Ryan. It's just so important that like even if like you're playing together, you're not actually playing together. You know. All right, we're not off to a very hot start so far with the ball movement. Hey Matt, what's up? It's from in Megas. Yes, the ball was sleeping on the job. Oh, yes, we are very much not off to a hot start with the ball movement. This round might be a wash. Oh, oh, unlucky. Yeah, he almost made it. Alright, you're wasting time. You gotta get set up on the map, right? There's a Widow who's always gonna be splitting. This is like your #1 target. You need to make this Widow literally sit with her team and make her upset, right? Or like she either has to sit with her team to not die, in which case you just wait until your team's going in and then like you go in and kill her, or you make her uninstall, right? She does one or the other. And like the more time you spend sitting here watching the enemy team, the less time you're doing that, right? And so getting set up on the map involves playing away from them, getting on the sides, right? And then going in, right? And it just happens to be that the Widow's playing on the sides, so you go and kill her, right? So even better, right? Someone's naturally split for you, who's also really squishy and has very few defensive options against you, and you want to do that anyways. This is why you're a natural Widow counter. It's like you want to do like the stuff that kills Widow anyways, and then she just happens to be in the way, and then you come in like a wrecking ball, ruin her day. Right, so this is not good, right? You're setting up for a dive, but like, where's the Widow, right? Widow's right behind you. It's so free. That's gonna be your #1 priority, right? It was good that you went to split to the left eventually, but that's why you need time, right? Like, if you want to set up for engage, right, you gotta go this side earlier, so that way you can like set up, be even deeper behind them, right? And then you also find the Widow in the meantime. No. Oh my god. Okay. Kill you. All right, this is a struggle. Hey, we got a big slam. For the Widow, nice. Big shields. Look how sad this Widow is. You dropped your spaghetti all over the floor, and you still killed her without much effort. You hit her with 3 melees.
Allow me to repair the damage. Repairing the damage.
A lot of ball is just like fighting that one isolated guy and killing them until they start standing with their team. And once they stand with their team, then you've won because like you're a ball who gets 6-man shields and pile drivers whenever they're all together, right? And so this is bad because you're with your team, right? And you expect the enemy team to walk into your team, right? So instead, you should play on the opposite side of the map and wait for the Widow and go kill her, right? And if the enemy team rotates this way, then you go the other way as your team rotates to meet them, and you look for the Widow again, right? It's really straightforward playing the macro game as well. There are some like question marks on like what I mean macro game in general is pretty straightforward for most characters, but like there's like some intricacies in terms of like rotations, what do you do when people do specific stuff, right? But for the most part, like in a comp like this especially, there's gonna be a Widow split, and the enemy team is going to be running at your team, right? That's literally it, right? So when the enemy like build more drones, yes. So when the enemy team walks at you, you don't want to be there with your team because you're just giving them a bigger target to look at, right? You require more minerals, indeed. And then in the meantime, you want to be setting up on the off angle where the widow happens to be, and she's alone, so you kill her, right? Really straightforward, right? So like, if you look, enemy team's pushing your team. Like, you don't need to be genius to predict this, right? They're running a Rhine, you're not running a Rhine. They're running this way, right? This widow is splitting, right? So imagine if you were here, right? We're just chilling out here or over here, right? You see them keep rotating this way, and you just start hunting for the widow, right? And you just kill her, right? In the back line before the fight even happens. Okay, if you're gonna make a play like that, you gotta mines early, right? So you gotta go in, right? Swing up, mines, pile drive, and then like, I don't know. You really want to do this from somewhere else, right? You really want to be like over here, and then you roll in. So like you sit here, you grapple off this, then you do it from behind, and that way you eat less damage on the way in, right? And you don't get slept or something like that. So timing wise, this mine should have been earlier into the play, and also you'd much rather do it from another angle, right? Generally from behind, because there's not a lot of great angles here. And then macro wise, you don't even want to be here. You want to be killing the widow. I don't know if this is the way to go. Yeah. Build additional you must construct additional pylons. What was that video where he like literally covered the whole map in pylons and he told them to build more pylons? Yeah. This is cool and all, right? But this is the target, right? You're stalling point, that's fine, right? But as soon as like your team is like in a reasonable position, right? So your Lucio's now on point, he can handle point, right? This is your target, right? Crosshair's in the right spot. Keep going. She's going to get an Ana support, most likely. She's not. You can see this. Big slam, right? That's really good, right? That's what you need to do more of. It needs to be like automatic to go kill the widow. Make her switch. Right, so now you need to do the same thing, right? Instead of shooting the ball, right? As soon as you get cooldowns back, go for this guy again, right? Go for the guy who's alone, right? Don't worry so much about this unless you have to stall point, but you have a diva. Your diva is here stalling point for you, right? So go get offensive, right? Most main tanks like stall point if they have to, right? But if anyone else is better at doing it, they go forward instead and they go make plays. Oh, hello, Widow. Uninstall. Like, do you see how like easy that was? Also, for what it's worth, right? Instead of shooting and then cleaning up with slam, if you can just start with slam, like if you can go like fireball into slam and then just kill her, right? She's CC'd and you just get even more damage, like more reliable instead of having to aim at her. Isn't Ball the most stallable character? Yes. He's very good at stalling. That said, if someone else is stalling for you, right, like your Lucio or your Diva, right, then you're much better at being aggressive. Main tanks in general, like, he's the most ballable character. Ayo, yeah. You just want to go in, right? You want to go pick on the guy who's alone, right, and make the enemy team turn around to support that guy, right? And then like because you're also very good at living through those situations, right? So Monkey's very good at applying pressure and killing people, by like splitting them off. And Ball's really good at just like getting to that person and making them like demand resources, right? And then living after. So as Ball, right, if you're just stuck on point all the time, right, you're not applying backline pressure. Like, how did you get to the Widow, right? You saw Lucio, you saw your own Lucio on point, and you saw their Lucio on point, and you said, I'm not doing their Lucio, I'm going for the Widow, and you killed the Widow, right? And it's the same idea, right? You've got a D1 point, you don't want to deal with their Ball, right? So you're just going to go at their Ana, right?
The objective is
Same concept. Alright, you're going around the sides of the map. This is cool. See a tracer. That's good, right? Like, if you look, she's extending really hard. You're on an off angle, right? You see the tracer go in. You poke her out, and then you can catch her and do more damage after a recall, even if she didn't die, right? So this is really good. And now, from here, instead of going point, I want to see you go all the way around and kill the McCree. That's what I want to see you do. Okay, look at this guy's alone, right? Go kill them. Nice. Sucks he got slept, but it doesn't matter. That's real pressure. You made her rotate all the way around, and that time the McCree almost died, and these guys aren't getting healing, right? Your team is applying pressure, right? And when you wake up, you can go in with minefields. That's really good. This probably just wins the fight.
Surrender to my will.
Again, like, you don't need to go from the front. You can just go around and then get the big damage that way. And if, like, you happen to scoop any of them up, right, you can just turn around and slam, right? Or you can just hit them to the side and then, like, turn around and slam this way, and you'll probably get more damage that way as well. Yeah. You have an issue on ball where you go from the front way too much. But that said, like, as soon as you identify people who are alone and, like, out of position, like, you're very consistent about, like, making a play on it, right? Like, you see the Ana, like, oh my god, she's alone, right? And then you just go on it, right? And that's really good. You just need to be thinking about that in advance, right? Like, you need to be looking for the person who's alone, not responding to the person that you see is alone, you know? Because someone will always be alone, basically. It's bad Overwatch to all play together. And if they are all together, you'll see that, and then you just get your 6-man, like, boop, slam, shields, like, you win the game. Because you actually build minefield in, like, 2 seconds. And a lot of those comps that all play together are comps that, like, don't really, kill ball very well, right? The only exception is Sombra, like, in these, like, May Reaper, like, Sombra comps. So what you can do at that point is you can just, like, put a grapple somewhere, right? And then when team's trying to push, and you go, boop, and then you roll back, and you never let go of your grapple. You go, boop, and you roll back, and you go, boop, and you just do that, and next thing you know, you vault. It's insane. They're so, like, those characters are so bad at killing you. On top of, like, being forced to stand together. Alright, back to the Zarya. I think it's probably the priority anyways. Okay, they beat your... Wow, Lucio managed to beat you out here way faster. That's a good bubble, right? This is good off-angling, right? You're splitting from your Rhine, right? Just be careful because this is a big split and there's a wall behind you, which means you're probably going to die here. But this is like what you want to do, is off-angle from your Rhine, right? Yeah. The Rhine covers for your retreat. Your Moira ended. Okay, we're resing. All is well. Whenever you see this happening, it turns into a stalemate where neither man wants to push. The most automatic thing you can do is think, are we the team that needs to push or not, right? If we're the team that needs to push, right, then staying here, then we don't want to stay here, right? And also pushing through the choke is hard, right? So it's very hard for you as a Zarya to, like, help your team push this choke by standing at it, right? If it turns out if you're the team with map advantage and they need to push into you, right? Like, say, like, they're on a very fast comp, right? They're running like Meeper, really close range heroes like Reaper and, like, I don't know, Doomfist or something, and they want to run into you, right? Then the expectation is they will run into you if you're playing like Symmetra or Kree or something like that, right? But if they're playing a situation, right, like where your comps are, hey Pineapple, where your teams are like mostly even, right? And then this is a situation where presumably they're not going to walk into you because eventually someone's going to go point, right? And the fight's going to move in this direction over time. Then you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to stay here expecting the machine to push into your choke, right? So this off-angling is like okay if you expect them to push into your team, right? But if not, you need to start moving in this direction. So that way, in case the fight stays here, you can just bubble and then, like, grenade jump onto the high ground, and now you have an off-angle. Or just walk around the corner and have an off-angle, right? And if the fight moves in this direction, you're really well suited to match it, right? In fact, like, your whole team should probably go this way. But, like, regardless, right? If you as Zarya should definitely be over here, whatever your team decides to do, right? Yeah, so, like, imagine if you were just here earlier. You get so much damage. The bubbles are okay. Unlucky. Staying alive, that's good. Failing. Whew! Delivers. This is a very hard choke. Okay. You said you got carried, so I'm assuming you win this game, but, like, my god, how does your team win against a Mei with no Lucio and just all four heading through the choke? This looks so bad. This looks so bad. Our team got on the map. They're winning the fight. Maybe. My God, they won. That's crazy. Just walk straight at him. No fear. Alright. That works out, I guess. Definitely sloppy, but it works out. Big block. Big death. Oh, you're a big liver? Oh my God. Alright, again. So think about where your Ryan wants to play. He wants to play here, right? So where's the spot that gives you cover and an off angle, right? The most conservative spot is here, right? If you expect them to rotate somewhere, right? You want to be somewhere like kind of midway, so like maybe like over here is like okay, like I don't know. I don't really know about that. But generally speaking, this is like Zarya's spot right here, right? You just pop out, walk out, and now you have high ground, right? Whenever you want. You can also play this side if you're feeling more aggressive. But again, if your Ryan has to run this way really hard, it's very hard for you to catch up with him, right? So this is the extremely aggressive off angle. If you feel confident your team will hold this spot, right? Like if you have grab or something. So like if the enemy team starts like running to your team, you can just forcibly make them stay there, right? Especially if they have no diva, right? But like this is an okay spot. This is like probably the premier spot. You just like jump on top of this and you sit here, right? And then like you just spam, 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 right? If they rush your Ryan, you bubble him, and you stand out in the open with your own bubble and you shoot, right? But like you don't want to stack with your Ryan. You need to like whenever you see the situation, and this happens a lot, right? Where you just like are waiting for something to happen and you're with your Ryan, right? Like just start looking around the map and thinking like, where else can I be, right? Where's the spot with cover and options, right? And this is a high ground, so it's covered, right? So it's great. We take it. Good bubble though. That bubble's very hard to hit, by the way, just because there's so much stuff in front of you. So, good bubble. Right, so you created an off angle because your Ryan was over here, right? And you were over here, right? So you're able to shoot that Ryan in the back, right? But you want to be able to do that from the start of the fight as opposed to like making your Ryan have to off angle for you. I just keep getting DM'd. Oh, the ping. Alright. Alright, again, right? You're standing here, and you're just in the line of fire. Need that streamer mode. I do have it on, I just like don't like having all the audio settings turned off. Or all the audio turned off from Discord. Because what if I get pinged in? It's important, you know? Probably should have bubbled that as soon as your rank got flashed. There's a very reasonable chance he actually just straight up dies there. The only exception is if you know they have Blizzard, and you're really scared about it, so you just hold onto the bubble until the Blizzard comes out. In which case you just shouldn't have bubbled at all, right? Again, right? You're in the line of fire because you're stacked with your Ryan, right? Instead of just like camping out over here and having a field day just throwing right clicks into their backline, right? You build ult so much faster doing that, right? Again, like doing damage on Zarya is mostly a product of positioning, right? You got one right click on the backline and they died. You got one right click in the backline and they straight up exploded. There's the rip. Grab Blizzard. It's OP. Big block. Big dragon. Kill the guy. There's a guy behind you somewhere, I think. Yes? No? Where'd he go? I guess not. Interesting. I thought there was a guy behind you. Grabbing the Zarya is I'm not sure if it's what you want to do, but it's pretty good still. Okay, hunting on the exit kill is good. I'm pretty sure that grabbing the Zarya May was worth it. That creature touch way too early. Alright, nice. Overall, mechanics of Zarya are okay. They have some issues like just juggling when there's a lot of stuff at the same time. You just kind of sit there and like throw a right click. But a lot of times, like things just become easier if you're positioned better. So for you, the biggest thing is like in Ryan's Zarya mirrors is finding where your Ryan is setting up, right, for a fight or where he wants to fight and splitting away from it, right? And not like too far, right? Like don't be like out here for the most part unless you have grab or like you need like you expect you're like you're sure your team will like hold this choke really hard, right? Like you have a Mei sitting right here or something, right? um, but for the most part, you want to find some off angle with cover. Um, as far as you can go, that's reasonable for your team. So that way, if your Ryan backs up, you're not left in Africa, right? So this is a really good spot for this Ryan, right? As like you just if your Ryan sits here, you sit here, right? Your Ryan's over here, right? Maybe you sit right here, right? Or even over here, because you don't really expect your Ryan to back up like way over here, right? If he's sitting here, right? He's going to back up in this direction most likely, or he's going to move in this direction with pin, right? So if you just sit here, right, you can kind of help your Ryan wherever you go, wherever he goes, right? Um, and you just need to think like that for every scenario with Ryan, right? So if your Ryan's holding here, where do you stand as Zarya, right? There's not a lot of great spots, right? So you can potentially stand here, but this doesn't have really great cover, right? Um, so realistically, it's probably just like right here, right? You just chill right here or here, right? Just whatever cover you have available, and you try and help your Ryan, right? Because there's not a lot of options here, right? You're relying more on the power of the choke here because it's so narrow and it's like so strong. They're going uphill, right, and like into natural concaves. So you don't really need to play a cover as extremely hard, right? But if they're coming up this way, like, you should play here, right? Why not, right? Um, yeah. If any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. And I'll the bot here, or I'll do another